Welcome to the Basic Skills Series video, Provisioning the OIU8. The purpose of this video is to introduce the OIU8 PON card and provide step-by-step instructions on configuring the PON interfaces. The topics covered in this video will be an overview of the OIU8 card features and functionality, an explanation of the PON transceiver requirements for the card, and a step-by-step demonstration of the PON port provisioning process. Using the Optical Interface Unit 8, the OLT6 shelf can support a full 32 PON ports. Each PON port on the OIU8 can be configured to support either GPON or 10 gig XGS PON capabilities. PON ports may support up to 64 ONTs and 512 UNI-ports on both GPON and XGS PON configurations. The card can also be used in legacy 1134 and 1150 OLT shelves. However, backplane throughput of the card is capable of 40 gigs when used with the OLT6 shelf and new enhanced ESUs. Because this card supports two PON types, there are two different PON transceivers available, the GPON transceiver and the XGS PON transceiver. Each is an XFP form factor that supports the SC-UPC connector for single-mode fiber. These units are sold separately and need to be installed in accordance with the way each PON port on the card is provisioned. When the OIU8 card is installed in the OLT6, the card is populated in the slots provisioning. The provision card shows up in the equipment view. Unless specified during the Add OLT process, the OIU8 card will default to GPON for all ports. Also, all ports will be enabled. To disable unused ports, go to the Ports application and select PON. Change the admin state for each unused port to disabled, and then apply the change. The PON type for each port is assigned through a PON profile. There are two PON default profiles available in a new system. The default profile uses the GPON protocol, and the default XGS PON profile uses the XGS PON protocol. If a new profile is created, the PON type must be selected. PON port types are required to be assigned in pairs. Each PON port pair 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and 7 and 8 need to be assigned a PON port type together. Select the new profile in each of the PON ports before selecting Apply. This concludes this video. In it, we have discussed an overview of the OIU8 card features and functionality, an explanation of the PON transceiver requirements for the card, and a step-by-step demonstration of the PON port provisioning process.